circumstances require, and yet the compassionate hand of our social intervention programs will always be there to redeem our people even as they continue on the road to Damascus. We need a peaceful society for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis to be able to pursue their dreams and build a life for themselves and their family. My team Unity Administration remains determined to deliver a stronger and safer future for all the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. I now want to invite Commissioner Brandy to make his introductory remarks, and again to commend him, as I've done privately today, to commend him publicly for his excellent leadership of the police services at this time, a leadership that has been marked with outstanding results. Performance does in fact matter, but people matter more.
Good evening, Mr. Prime Minister. Good evening, Mr. Sanders, National Security Advisor, and good evening to our host, Ms. Grant. Good evening to citizens and residents of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, as well as nationals living abroad who are listening to this evening forum. Allow me to firstly thank the Prime Minister for inviting me to be a part of this forum and to share information with the public regarding our policing efforts to date. As the Commissioner of Police, I have been working closely with the Prime Minister, who also serves as the Minister of National Security, and I must thank him for his efforts. He has proven to be one of the most helpful and supportive Ministers of National Security that I ever worked with. We can usually depend on a favorable response when we make requests for various types of assistance, and we can see his commitment to ensure St. Kitts and Nevis is safe when we look at the investment in areas such as the forensic lab, the new police stations, the closed city programs, the new police vehicles, and the $150,000 US investment in our comparison microscope, among other things. All in all, he has shown great leadership and as the Minister of National Security. Secondly, I must also show gratitude to you, the public, for your support. We have worked hard over the past few years to regain the trust, and we do have some way to go. Although we do have some way to go, I am happy to see the public has come back on board with giving information to help in solving crime and are showing the appreciation to us at a various stage. At the end of 2019, there were 12 homicides. This represents an astonishing 48% reduction when compared to 2018. Additionally, there was an impressive 28% overall reduction in crime in 2019 over the previous years. Furthermore, a record-breaking number of guns, 47, were removed from the street last year as well. Another notable achievement in 2019 was the seizure of 136 kilos of cocaine, which is considered one of the largest drug busts in the history of the Federation. The downward trend in major crimes continued in 2020. I must stress that the Federation had recorded a decrease in major crime even prior to the implementation of the state of emergency. Crime was down by just over 30% in the first quarter of 2020 when compared to 2019. From the start of the state of emergency to now, it is dropped to 43%, as the Prime Minister had earlier mentioned. I now will give a full statistical count of the comparison for 2018 to 2020. In 2018, there were 15 homicides compared to 11 in 2019 and 6 in 2020. Shooting with intent, there was 1 in 2018 and 4 in 2019, in comparison to 1 in 2020. Wounding with firearm, there were 1 in 2018, 0 in 2019, and 0 in 2020. Attempted murder, there were 13 in 2018 and 13 in 2019 and 1 in 2020. Grievous bodily harm, there were 62 reports in 2018 against 61 in 2019 versus 41 in 2020. Sexual offenses, there were 14 sexual offenses in 2018 compared with 30 in 2019 and 15 in 2020. Breaking offenses, in 2018 there were 217 versus 128 in 2019, and now 100 in 2020. Larcenies, 247 in 2018 versus 176 in 2019, now 116 in 2020. Robberies, 24 in 2018, 28 in 2019, and 6 in 2020. Firearm offenses, 14 in 2018, 22 in 2019, and 6 in 2020. Malicious damage, 124 in 2018 and 74 in 2019, and now 76 in 2020. This is the only category of crime that shows an increase for 2020, an increase of 2 crimes. This brings us to a grand total of 918 in 2018 and 697 in 2019 and 399 in 2020, a difference of 298 crime less, 43% reduction. That is the present crime statistics in comparison for the last 3 years. The 3 pillars of policing stand at the center of our operation. These pillars help to get where we are today. They are community policing, intelligent-led policing, and predictive policing. As it relates to community policing, our efforts have provided significant fruits. We have several departments that have incorporated community engagement as a part of their duties. The National Intervention Team continues their notable work with the children. The Stapleton Police Station launched a senior citizen service. The Criminal Investigation Department is out sharing crime tips and also responsible for hosting the program, the popular radio show, Policing With You. They are also the ever-popular Traffic Talk twice weekly, just to mention a few. In closing, at the end of the day, I can say that we are doing much as we can to keep our Federation safe. This forum provides an opportunity for me to publicly thank the men and women of the Royal St. Christopher Navy's Police Force for their invaluable service and their commitment to their country and its people. Everyone has a role to play, and together we can ensure that St. Kitts and Nevis is a safer for all of us to work, do business, and raise our family. I thank you. God bless you, and I'm here to answer any question you may ask.
Honorable Prime Minister, Commissioner of Police, Press Secretary, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. We started a journey in the establishment of a national security architecture back in 2017, and we have gone quite some way since then. But one of the first priorities of that particular journey was to establish exactly what were the threats that impact the Federation. And I'll just take the opportunity in my opening remarks this evening to remind you all of what these threats are to the Federation. First of all, illegal arms and ammunition trafficking, illegal drug trafficking, corruption in public and private sectors, organized crime, transnational organized crime, money laundering, human trafficking and smuggling, terrorism, natural and man-made disasters, health pandemics, and right now we are in the middle of one, or in the midst of one. And I'd like to also remind the public at this particular moment in time that there are other aspects that threaten not only the Federation but the Caribbean as a particular defined area. And just to elaborate quite a bit so that we do not lose track of what is happening around us, the fact of the matter is that you have 1.6 million cases of dengue in the Americas at this particular moment in time. The larger portion of that resides in Latin America and Central America, with the minor numbers being the Caribbean region. But we all have to be mindful of all of these things, even in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic. There's also cybercrime, regional and global migrations from crisis-prone areas, climate change, and the impact of deportees and deportee migration across borders in CARICOM. So although we are having a continuous reduction in crime, as has been pointed out by the Prime Minister and the Commissioner of Police, we have to be mindful of all these other threats or threat scenarios that impact us and ensure that we continue to take the necessary precautions to negate them. And that is what we have been doing, and doing quite well, as has been stipulated. At this particular moment in time, I'd like to thank the government for its support, and also the people of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis for their support as far as ensuring that law and order is maintained throughout the society. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll take a quick commercial break, but just before we do, I'd like to give you the numbers to phone. They are 1-869-466-2666, 662-8674, 767-4765, and 1239-645-4500. Questions can also be sent via WhatsApp to 869-661-5683. Please be brief and straight to the point so that we can accommodate as many questions as we can. When we come back, we'll take your calls and questions.
So you understand what's going on?
Yeah, man, it's easy.
Okay, cool. Alright, then it looks like you know what's going on.
Older children may need less supervision, but they need your full support. A few tips for assisting children with online or home-based study. Check in regularly. Ask questions about what they are doing. Don't shout or get frustrated if they don't understand. Encourage them to take breaks from time to time. Be affectionate. Be positive. Sometimes a simple touch goes a long way. As much as possible, provide a comfortable space for children to work in. You may want to be more lenient with the desired study location for teens. Encourage them to focus by minimizing distractions such as television, music, or telephone. As much as possible, encourage them to separate their eating spaces from their study spaces, minimizing the risk of damaging devices. Parent registration for Flow Study. Step 1. Enter www.flowstudy.co. The Flow Study site should open. If it doesn't, go to www.google.com. Enter flowstudy.co in the Google search engine. Step 2. Click on the link that opens flowstudy.co. Step 3. Click on Get Started in the upper right-hand corner. Step 4. Select Sign Up. Now enter your email address in the box provided. Step 5. Get started using your email. Step 6. Select Parent Account. Enter your personal information and click Next. Step 7. Create your password. Step 8. Select your country. Step 9. Link your account to your child's account by selecting Use Email. Step 10. Enter the email address given to you by the school and the password. Congratulations, you've just signed up as a Flow Study parent.
Welcome back to Leadership Matters. We'll go right to the phone lines. Do we?
Yeah.
Yes, hello?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Yes, okay. A very pleasant good evening to you, Mr. Prime Minister, and to Colonel Sanders, and to Commissioner Mr. Hilroy Brandy. My name is Vincent Benjamin, a.k.a. Culture. Now, for the past 2 years, we have seen too many refugees coming to our shores. And some of them have excuse saying that the boat run out of diesel. Now my question is this. With the 2 Coast Guard that we have here, I do not think they are fast enough to apprehend those people on those high seas. So my suggestion is that why don't the Federation get 2 fast boats like cigarette type from Florida with a gunnery on the bonnet so that those fast boats can outrun those smugglers who are bringing people to our shores and other things to our shores. Because our borders are too open and we need to have something that is very quick and sharp to counteract those people who are smuggling. So I will listen out here. We need to have those 2 speed boats. And why we do not have them? The Coast Guard is too slow to run down those boats. So thanks for listening.
Thank you very much. Do we have another call?
Hello.
Hi, yes, go ahead, sir.
Hi, my question is to the Commissioner of Police. My name is Austin Corker. Mr. Commissioner of Police, is there any way you can find a charge to charge the Prime Minister and the team in the government with a severe beating they put on the Labour Party? You need to charge them. Have a good night.
Okay, a little bit of humor there. Vincent Benjamin, aka Culture, he had a question, and basically a comment. He thinks that the borders are too open. He's saying we need to have quicker boats. What do you say to that? We'll get the National Security Advisor and the Police Commissioner to weigh in, please.
Coast Guard cutter Stalwart. That is was purchased since I think it's 1981 or 1983, just when they obtained independence. Almost 35 years old, and presently I know the Ministry of National Security is seeking to purchase 2 boats from overseas shortly, and presently we're also investing in drones so we can survey our coastline and to be current with who are traveling on our borders. So soon you will see the improvement in our coastline.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any more calls? Okay. If not, okay, that's fine. Okay, so I'd like to segue and talk about the remarkable response by the security forces during the whole COVID-19 pandemic. We're still, the whole world is going through that pandemic, but St. Kitts and Nevis we have a lot to be thankful for because 15 confirmed cases have recovered nicely and we are COVID-free. But I'd like to get a word from the Prime Minister talking about the all-of-society approach that took place, all-of-society and government approach that took place to ensure that we really gave a wonderful response to the whole COVID-19 pandemic.
I would say that the all-of-society approach represents a new philosophy in governance being instituted by the Team Unity administration. And we saw that work out in the manner in which we brought all of society to give their input and to help with the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. We look at the structures which we established, the National Emergency Operations Center, and we see how that works with a diverse membership, including the health leadership, and in particular representation from the Health Emergency Operation Unit. We had the security forces, which included the police, included the customs official, which included officials of NEMA, the private sector being represented, the religious community being represented, all of society being represented in this effort, which is really a fight of a lifetime. It's a fight really to preserve humanity and to preserve life as we know it. And we were able to create an environment in which everyone, whether one wanted to donate a cake to show gratitude to the superb work of the National Emergency Operations Center, headed by Mr. Abdir Samuel, or to commend our Chief Medical Officer for her outstanding leadership, we were able to bring people together working with the national interests in mind. And so I believe that we are going to see more of this all-of-society approach. as the government attempts to tackle with the still remaining challenge and danger of COVID-19, which started largely way back in 2019 as a health issue, a health emergency, and has morphed from a health pandemic now into an economic crisis, a crisis of global proportions and consequences which by and large are impacting adversely every country in the world. The largest country of the world, the United States of America, is dealing with one of the most significant recessions, with over 20 million people still remain unemployed as a consequence of the response which had to be taken to save lives in the context of the COVID-19. So the all-of-society approach represents, as it were, an open outreach by the government to the people, involving people in decision-making and helping to bring a resolution of the problems. It appears we have a caller online. Caller, you're online.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. PM, the Commissioner of Police, and the Special Advisor to the Prime Minister on National Security. Congratulations to the Prime Minister and his team on that splendid victory of a few weeks ago. You did even better than the polls had predicted. My question, my concern, more than one actually, the CCTV program which had been put in place throughout the island, I think both St. Kitts and Nevis, I would like to know how that is, what stage of completion that is from the project point of view, and how effective it has been to the police or security personnel so far. Is it working out, and should it be expanded, for one? The other thing about persons penetrating our borders via sea mainly, what are we doing in relation to Nevis? Because Nevis seems to be even more unprotected than we are in St. Kitts. And along with that, we should also have, I know the immigration no longer falls under police, but I think we should have some immigration personnel on the ground mingling with persons so that they can keep abreast of persons who have penetrated our borders and who may be here causing problems, bringing diseases and that kind of thing. Because once they penetrate our borders and fit in with the society per se, it's very difficult to track them down. So we do need a follow-up program. I would like to get your comments on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there another caller online?
Hello?
Yes. You're on Leadership Matters.
About the borders opening. I have a question about the borders opening. I know that the U.S. has a lot of cases at the moment, but is it possible if we would open inter-islands like Antigua or other airlines would be at, so that students will be able to leave the island and be able to go to other places? I know that charter flights are
Hello, go ahead, please. You're on Leadership Matters.
Hello, good night. How are you all doing? Good night to the Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Timothy Hammers, and also to Commissioner of Police, Andy, and Major General Stewart. My name is Craig Puckett. I'd just like to give commendations to the Team Unity Administration for the work that they have done in bringing the good name of St. Kitts and Nevis back from being considered or called in the past as the #1 murder capital of the world. We know what we had to endure during that period of time when the good people of St. Kitts and Nevis were living under threat. At the same time, our current was that was seriously under threat, negatively affected by the scale of murder that was being perpetrated throughout our society. I mean, I must also commend you all for the work done for the Peace Initiative, because I heard persons who were heartless saying that the government should develop a death squad and kill off all those persons who were involved in criminal activities of the sort, because they felt that the ills of a few should not affect the majority. But again, the team unity led by you, Honorable Prime Minister, showed the love you have for our people, for our young people, never giving up on them, and chose a different option. So I just want to say, you showing more and more again that the type of leadership that is necessary to take the news forward. You are exhibiting it along with your team unity cabinet, and we applaud the good work and leadership that you've been doing, and keep up the good work, and we'll forever support you in this time and in many times to come. God bless you.
Thank you. Do we have another caller? If we don't, we'll have the panel answer the couple of questions. Firstly, someone wanted to know about the status of the multi-million-dollar CCTV program that is being built out throughout the Federation. And the government has received funding from the government of Taiwan. So we're very grateful for that. And then the same person wanted to know what we are doing in relation to Nevis. Then the second caller gave commendations to the leadership of Prime Minister Harris and the Team Unity administration for getting the crime situation under control. So I guess we can have the commissioner and the National Security Advisor to go into a little bit of detail. I know, for instance, people are interested in the mechanisms of the successful Peace Initiative program, so we can delve into that. But yes, the CCTV program.
Bastia, the entire Bastia was covered by the CCTV program. The recent investment by the government to expand the outskirts, that farms, Sandy Point, Saddlers, come all the way to Connery. That project is well on its way. I guess if it was not for the pandemic, it will be completed by now. But I could assure you it is more than three-quarters complete. Presently, we have the equipment for Nevis. I think the equipment already in Nevis. So it's just a matter of time for the Nevis Island administration to start implementing and installing those equipment on the outskirts of Nevis. The CCTV program is very useful for the police in terms of fighting crime and preventing crime. One will have to detect. Detection is one of the areas in which we have reduction in crime, and I can say the CCTV assists us tremendously in terms of our officers monitoring the cameras at the police station, and we retrieve footage of number of incidents that we were able to take before the court and have conviction. So the CCTV is very useful, and it helps us to keep the crime level low.
Commissioner, Taiwan has seen some marvelous results with respect to their CCTV program. And I know there's a training component whereby some members of the police force are invited to go to Taiwan to learn a bit. Could you talk about that, about the help that Taiwan is giving?
Yes, in addition to Taiwan assisting us with the equipment, they also provide training. And it's about 6 members of our staff visiting Taiwan, I think in the last 2 years, and received training how to operate and to do troubleshooting with the cameras, how to retrieve footage while they were in Taiwan. And this program also continue via line and to help us to continue to operate the CCTV camera effectively.
Thank you. Before I ask National Security Advisor, before I get him to talk a little bit about the peace initiative, I will repeat the numbers to call because we are excited to hear from you. We look forward to hear from you. Even if you don't have a question, you can always call in to give your congratulations to Prime Minister Harris and his team Unity administration. But of course, we'd love questions. So the numbers are 869-466-2666, 662-8674, 767-4765, and the overseas line is 239-645-4500. Questions can also be sent via WhatsApp to 869-661-5683. And we know that a lot of you are viewing online. We see your comments coming in on screen. People are viewing as far as St. Martin, Tortola, the United States of America, etc. So don't be shy. We have an overseas line for you to call in. It's 239-645-4500. Now I'll turn to the National Security Advisor because I know you have a lot to report on with respect to the peace initiative. That has been in the spotlight. And people are just interested in the workings of it. So, but before we get to that, I hear we have a call on the line. So let's get to the caller. Yes, caller. Good night. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, good night. Hello?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, it's a feedback, so that's why I'm trying to make sure. This is Buck Garrett Media. First, let me congratulate Unity for a victory. It's their second term in government now, so I just want to congratulate them. To Mr. Brandy, what we would like to see is a continuation of security force, especially patrolling our area. The peace initiative is working. Persons are now more comfortable leaving their home, coming back home, and meeting what they have left. So I must compliment you for what you have done so far. But persons are saying that they would like to see some more patrolling of police. And also, when you call for police, we want to see a more quicker response. Where they can get to the destination, in a timely manner. For example, if they call in Tabernacle, we expect Tabernacle police to respond. If for some reason Tabernacle police is out on duty, maybe somebody in that day could step in and then somebody from Tabernacle take over. So we just want to see a much more speedy or faster turnover time, right? To my PM, just want to say to you, continue being healthy, continue being strong, right? The step you are taking, you are making the right decision. When we look at the COVID-19, PM, I listen to news every morning. Up to this morning, I hear Florida is still getting hit from the second wave of the COVID-19. You have yet to hold things firm with the COVID-19 pandemic. We don't have any positive cases right now. So I want to say, whatever you're doing, continue to do it, right? I don't know what plans you have in terms of when the country start to open for flights to come in. How are you going to control that flow of immigrants coming to our shore? Whether you're going to continue find government facilities to hold them, or you're going to let them go to their place of residence and have the COVID-19 task force continue to go and visit them, like physically visit them to make sure that they stay at home for the 14 days, right? I'm not sure. So maybe you can elaborate in terms of the next few months because persons want to come home, and by saying that, I must say that students are coming home, right, and they are taking care of themselves. They're paying for the test, they're paying for the quarantine, right? So nobody is keeping anybody away from coming home. You have said you want to come home, you make the arrangement, you get here, you have to be quarantined. But what I'm asking you is when flights start to come, when you have that big, massive, that large amount of forces coming in, how are the government going to control having them quarantined and having them tested? What procedure is in place? You have done the stimulus package. Very good job in that. Persons I want to know, is this going to continue? I mean, the country have now opened up. Business owners are now doing more socializing. I mean, yes, they're still wearing the mask and using the hand sanitizer, but I can see business picking up in St. Kitts. But in terms of the stimulus package, what can we expect from a caring and loving community? I don't want to step along. I want to give somebody some more chance to call in. If I have to call in again, I would. But thank you very much for listening to me. And Mr. Brandy, I'm still waiting for a response from you. And have a good night and continue keeping the peace.
So the police force have undertaken, the police force has undertaken heightened patrols as part of its robust community policing initiative that has been going on since about 2015, 2016. So I'd like the Commissioner of Police to touch on that. Then we will have the Prime Minister discussing the whole controversial issue really about opening to international flights. Yes, everyone would like us to open and open soon, but it's a strategy. It's a complex strategy really that will that will rely upon leadership because for instance, when you look at the United States of America, there are about 120,000 plus deaths right now, sadly, from COVID-19. Places such as Florida are seeing upticks due to opening for business. Some people are saying that these places might have opened a bit too soon. So how do we do that in a safe way, in a safe manner that can put people's minds at ease here in St. Kitts and Nevis, in our beloved St. Kitts and Nevis? And then I would have the National Security Advisor just to touch a little bit on the Peace Initiative program.
For the caller and the general listening public, as a result of our preventative effort and our visibility in the community and in the city center, that's contribute to our 40% reduction, because we have both foot and mobile patrol both day and night in the community patrolling. Just before the pandemic stepped in, we had signed up a contract with Motorola so that we can do our GPS on all our patrol. So therefore, once you have a problem and you call into the headquarters, our dispatcher will be able to see exactly where the patrols are located and to be able to call that patrol and dispatch that patrol to the area of concern. So we are getting there, and our officers are on the street, both foot and mobile patrol. And we expect to improve as we fit out our GPS system.
Thank you, sir. I'll have the Prime Minister discuss opening to international flights and what will the quarantine measures be, etc.
Well, I shall start by reminding the public that the decision to close the borders were taken on the basis of health advice as one way in the first instance to contain the spread of the COVID-19 within the community and ultimately to prevent the loss of lives. Any decision to open the borders will again be based on health advice. And as I speak, I am aware that the NEOC, the National Emergency Operating Center, they are meeting and they are giving consideration to the how, the protocols that must be in place when we get to the point where it is deemed prudent to open the borders. Of course, the science is still evolving, and we are all looking at what is happening in countries where the borders have opened. And part of the strategy must be to minimize the occurrence of some of those negatives, to contain the probability of any spread as a result of the opening of the borders. So we continue to work on that matter. We expect that a proposal will come to the cabinet, and after that proposal from the technicians or the technical team is considered by cabinet, then a decision will be made and the public will be advised. Again, everything we do, we put the welfare of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis first. And we have to always strive for that delicate balance between people's livelihood and people's life. We appreciate that opening up of the economy is critically important. And we have had so far a well-managed approach that has dealt with that. So we have moved from lockdown to 2 days of limited operations, to 4 days, to 5 days, and then 7 days. And we have moved from a situation where all entities were constrained to a situation now where literally every entity is able to participate in some way within the context of the regulation in socio-economic life. And so that has been very good progress. In fact, in some respects, we have moved further and in a more orderly way in opening up of the economy than many other countries and societies have. We have now moved from limited business being conducted by our restaurants, for example, to a situation where now in-dining is being allowed, and that, of course, can happen. The restaurants, well, the curfew has now been put from 12 to 5, which allow reasonable time for persons to be able, as it were, to dine within restaurants and then to get home in time to beat the curfew and avoid any difficulties with the police. So we are working hard, and we are working and taking not just our own counsel, but we are benefiting from regional and other organizations which are making inputs with regard to issues of border management, border control. And so over the last couple of weeks, there have been meetings at the heads of government level to look at the opening up of borders, trying, as it were, to find and to formulate a common approach to that. And of course, there have been discussions over the last couple of days at the level of the OECS regarding the matter of opening up of the borders. Everywhere, though, the advice is that it has to be done in a very thoughtful way, and it has to be done in a way where one is careful that the second surge, if it were to come, could be even more difficult than the first one. And so we continue to advise persons as we move along to be very much aware that COVID-19 is still with us, to be very much aware that there is a need to wear masks in public spaces, to be very much aware that social distancing is still a requirement and part of the new norm, and to do all that is necessary to keep oneself healthy and well. And so, as we have done in the past, managed this process so successfully that to date we boast of no deaths, no admissions in our hospitals, no overwhelming of the health sector in terms of cases, and of course a very vigorous process of contact tracing, etc., that we continue to ensure that St. Kitts and Nevis remains a best example of a well-managed state in all respects, including in the management of COVID-19. I want to address the issue raised by Bucky Gattit with respect to the stimulus package. We unveiled the largest and the best stimulus package within the region, and of course we have given certain timelines with respect to that particular package. We are well aware that for some of the initiatives that have been outlined, a 3-month program had been given in the first instance. So for example, the payments from Social Security were determined to be provided for a period of 3 months in the first instance, after which there would have been an analysis of the situation and determinations made. We are well aware that with respect to those who hold mortgages with banks and other institutions of lending, that the moratorium on payment of mortgage was for an initial period of 6 months, which will take us somewhere, I think, up until September. We are well aware that there was a 3-month waiver with respect to water payments or water bills, the payment for these services, and we were well aware that there was a moratorium with respect to electricity for a period of about 6 months. So the timelines with respect to these are still in place. Indeed, we are probably only in the 2nd month or thereabout. At the end of June, we will be in a better position. April, May, and June would make the first 3 months of the operation of the stimulus package. And even today, I met with the financial secretary and to encourage that the relevant personalities within the Ministry of Finance would pay attention so that the cabinet can have the benefit of an update. And indeed, on Monday, I expect that the financial secretary and her top level managers and advisors will report to cabinet with respect to the first 2 months of the implementation of that package. And I've also asked her to garner information from Social Security, from the banking sector, so that we have the broadest view as to how the stimulus package is being impacted to date. We know what the consequences of all these actions has been, and revenue collections, which would have been significantly and adversely affected. We, for example, reduce the amount of corporate tax from 33% to 25% over the period. We have reduced for unincorporated businesses the tax rate by 50%, and we have deferred the payment of property taxes. So it means during that particular period of time, inflows into the government coffers will be significantly less, and that has been the reality. I have an interim report from our Controller of Inland Revenue, which speaks to some of the impacts of that, and hopefully by the time we meet on Monday, we will have a further and more comprehensive picture of the stimulus package and what we should do going forward. I think we should also be aware that with the opening up of the economy, more persons are actively engaged in work. We look at the export manufacturing sector. We know that Harris Server is up and running. We know that Jaro is up and running. We know that Cajola Cristada is up and running. We know that the brewery is up and running. Those are some of the largest manufacturing entities. So these are all positive developments. While they are going about their normal responsibilities, of course, significant action has been taken to again preserve the health and safety of the workers. Each of those facilities had to meet certain minimum standards outlined by the National Emergency Operating Center. And those would have been issues related to sanitation, issues related to social distances, issues relating to rotation in terms of meals, to ensure largely that we do not have over-congested areas within the workplace. And I want to thank all those manufacturing entities, Cajola Cristado, Jara Limited, Harrisova in Sandy Point, the breweries, for their compliance. And we hope that other entities will be able to follow the best practices and therefore will be able to open up. Now, as more persons get onto their normal routine of jobs, you should have less pressure being placed, for example, on the $1,000 per month assistance which is being provided. And as more and more we move closer to near normalcy with respect to the operation of the economy, then of course there should be a reduction in the demands placed on the need for these kinds of budgetary transfers.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. We're due for a commercial break, but before we go to commercial, I can say that the consensus is that Prime Minister Harris and his team Unity Administration have shown superior leadership in their response to the COVID-19 situation. You can hear it when when you walk on the street, when you look on social media, everyone is praising the response, and so kudos to the administration. We'll go to a quick commercial break, and then when we come back, we'll have the National Security Advisor touch on the peace initiative.
I am Officer Donnelly Liebert Shiverton. Do you want to travel and don't have private transportation? Here are some travel safety tips to keep yourself and the persons around you safe from the coronavirus. When venturing out in public, it is recommended that you wear a mask at all times. Sanitize your hands before and after entering public transportation. The bus operators are also encouraged to sanitize their buses after each trip. Remember, always practice good respiratory hygiene. That means refraining from touching your face with unwashed hands. Always practice physical distancing. To maintain physical distance, the government of St. Kitts and Nevis stipulates that only 2 passengers are allowed per row. That is, 1 passenger on each end of the bus row, while 1 passenger is allowed to sit up front with the driver. This means that only 9 passengers are allowed in a passenger bus. Remember, stay safe, travel wisely as we work together to flatten the curve.
Many people's income has been severely reduced as a result of the pandemic. There are real concerns about taking care of self and family in this current financial climate. In order to help to manage the stress and anxiety related to financial concerns, focus on gathering information. What concessions being offered by banks and businesses could I rely on to help me? Prioritizing what bills must be paid first. Which ones could be deferred until a later time? Which ones could be negotiated? Brainstorming. What other activity could bring in an income at this time? Remember, financial concerns are very real and could lead to distress and worry if they are left unchecked. Finding a way to problem solve helps to reduce the stress and anxiety that come with financial woes. This message comes to you from the St. Kitts Mental Health Association.
To avoid getting the coronavirus, Remember to wash your hands thoroughly and frequently before and after preparing food, after using the toilet or changing a diaper for a baby, sick person, or the elderly, after blowing your nose, and after leaving large gatherings or moving away from persons who appear ill. Encourage others to wash their hands and also use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer of 60 to 70% solution. Stay away from events having large gatherings of people. You can expose yourself to more possible infections in large groups. Also, avoid sharing cutlery, cups, glassware, etc. with others. Viruses can linger on these items and may be transferred this way. Avoid shaking and holding hands, and hugging or keeping an infected person in close proximity. This is a message from the Ministry of Health and the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA.
Good evening again. Welcome back to Leadership Matters. We know a lot of you are looking at Leadership Matters online, on TV. You're also listening on radio. So we welcome your questions. Again, I'll give the numbers: 869-466-2666, 662-8674, 767-4765, and we have an overseas line, 239-645-4500. Questions can also be sent via WhatsApp to 869-661-5683. And you can also ask questions on YouTube and Facebook. So before we went to commercial break, I mentioned that the National Security Advisor would be touching on the peace initiative, so I will let him go ahead.
The strategy involved started on the 13th of March 2019, and it's commonly referred to, as you know, as the Peace Initiative. We started, first of all, with approximately 70 persons involved, and that quickly blossomed over time to some 800 persons today, roughly 16 months later. We offer quite a number of opportunities for the at-risk groups. Project development, business opportunities, they can access loans. A lot of them are into apprenticeships at this particular moment in time. They are the normal work routines, learning trades, and for obviously educational opportunities and the like. Persons who have been on for some time and who have accessed these opportunities have now started to move off the program to take up or to spend more time in the actual business venture that they have adopted. And that is always a good sign, as it makes way for anybody else who might be interested in coming onto the program or who merits coming onto that particular program. Looking forward or looking down the line, there's one particular aspect that we are at the moment trying to address, and it is a life skills training and exposure program. What we need to do is to ensure that we can equip these individuals to work properly within the workforce, understanding all the social skills that are necessary in order to make them more valuable citizens and to understand what obtains on a job, a normal job in society today. So in a nutshell, that's where we are right now, and we're looking forward to the continued support of the public in particular in ensuring that we can bring these persons, these members of the at-risk group, back into the normal fold of society. So that's where we are at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. We also, do we have any calls? No, okay. We also have, I'd also like to ask the Commissioner of Police about the forensic lab. The government expended some funds. It's a multi-million-dollar development that was launched some time ago by the Team Unity administration. But a lot of people don't really know about all the good work that happens at that lab. I'd like the Police Commissioner Oh, sorry. Yes, go ahead, caller.
I would like to put out this question to the Commissioner, and probably the Prime Minister could answer. We have a little issue at the Traffic Department where you have the junior officers have the instruments, and where you have this inspector and the superintendent who run the department don't have the instruments. I would really like to talk to the Commissioner to ask him why that is the problem up there, that the superintendent and the inspector cannot sign off on anything because they don't have the instrument. What is the reason why that's happening up there in an institution like that carry that kind of weight in this country? So I would like the Commissioner to touch on that. Thank you.
God himself, does all things right and very well. Yes, sir, he does. And because you obey him, you are doing everything right. You became humble, and you are the right leader for the job, for that job. Because while God is in it, we won. And because he chose you, you always mention his name, which I'm proud of you for. Mentioning his name because he's God. Well, so I have to let you know, Mr. Prime Minister, that God is good to you and everyone is happy. I'm so happy because I want to let you know about Mrs. Nisbet also. Oh, she is Unity First Lady. She looked like a lady, she walked like a lady, she talked like a lady, because I went to see her about 3 months ago. And she's a very nice lady, and I'm so proud. I voted for her. And I know a lot of people did. I'm so happy that you won, because you're doing a wonderful job, sir. And God blessing you with that. You love your people, you love the island, your island, you love everyone. And we love you too. And I want to ask you, sir, are you sure that this is St. Kitts? Because it is so beautiful. I know it's the work of God, but it is so beautiful. My goodness, I could bring anyone here from away, bring them here to St. Kitts and let them see how beautiful St. Kitts is. You did a good job, and I thank God for that, because St. Kitts were not looking like this at all. For years, it wasn't looking like this. So I am so proud of you for what God bless your hands 1,000-fold, sir, for what you're doing to the island. I am so proud of you, sir, in the name of Jesus. And so, I am telling you how wonderful you are. I am so proud of you, and I will always be proud of you, because you are real. And because you love everyone, that's why you're doing good. And because you accept God into your life, and you mention his name, and I'm so proud of you for that, always. So continue doing the good work, sir. And God will continue to bless you, because you have been chosen by him. And I know you have, because God does everything right, and you're doing everything right. So therefore, he has to have chosen. So I want to thank you for everything, and give my love to the First Lady, in the name of Jesus. She's the First Lady of Unity. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. She's very, very nice. And what she
Thank you very much.
I know she will do it.
Thank you very much.
I'm telling you, sir, that I'm so proud of you. Very, very proud of you.
Thank you.
A lot of people.
Thank you.
We have one more call.
Yes. Good night, Mr. Prime Minister, and good night to the Commissioner and our National Security gentleman there. First, let me congratulate you on the victory for Team Unity for 2020 election. And I just want to say that I hope all these elected officials know that they're there to serve all the people of this federation, and we're looking forward for them to serve all the people and work very hard in their constituency. Remember that they were elected as Team Unity, and Team Unity means unity together and continue to have unity together all the way. Now, I have a question for the Commissioner of Police, Mr. Brandy. Good night to you, sir. Could you give us an update on those Haitians that was taken into custody yesterday, that was found in Keys, and could you let us know exactly if you have any information on how did they get here and when did they get here to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis? Thank you much, and congratulations once again.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we will have the Commissioner of Police answer the question. Sorry, we'll have the Commissioner of Police answer the question in regards to the Traffic Department, as well as give an update on the Haitians.
And the Haitian. Okay, concerning the caller, the High Command has taken a decision that we need our officers to be on the road. That's to police in the road for traffic. And we employ civilians to go on the street to give person driver's license to administer the test, the road test. So therefore, there is no need for so many officers to be in office while we have the civilians that administer the road test. The officers may be on the street to help to see that our public are safe and travel and to detect any infractions on the road. So we have adequate persons with the necessary instrument to do the work at the traffic department. In terms of the Haitian, to date, 13 persons have been taken into custody from our investigation and interview. We have learned that the Haitian arrived in Keys on Sunday and was in different areas in Keys, which our officers are still investigating. There's a likelihood there might be charges be brought against persons who harboring these persons in their home and not reporting this matter to authorities. We are still looking for 2 more persons from our investigation. There were 15 persons enter into our shows at Keys on Sunday, and from the investigation, those persons came out of Dominica by boat and dropped off at Keys. This is not the first time, this is not the second time this thing is happening, and we are working to see that there does not be a recurrence of this matter.
Thank you very much. And what stood out to me was when the lady asked the Prime Minister, are you sure that this is St. Kitts? The Prime Minister inherited quite a difficult situation, and I think that national security must be one of the trophies on his mantle, and it must be, well, it is one of his legacies. It was a daunting task, and he turned the situation around. You've heard him say he's met parents, a mother, a grieving mother who lost a child, saying, you know, I thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. So I'd like to ask well, before I ask him, he's also invested significantly in the forensic lab that I mentioned, in training, in new equipment. The police have expanded their presence in schools. A lot of mentorship is being done in the schools with the young children. We have the Explorers Club that has been introduced and built out throughout many communities. Mr. Prime Minister, what does it mean to you from a personal standpoint that St. Kitts is, I mean, it has rebounded beautifully under your leadership with the Ministry of National Security?
Thank you very much, and maybe we will allow the Commissioner for the officers to speak more specifically as to the role that the forensic lab is playing in crime detection and, of course, helping us to bring the criminals to justice. it is an important part of the broad approach that my government has taken with respect to law and order in the country, and that we had to bring every resource available to the state to turn back the tide of the past. That tide had saw St. Kitts and Nevis become the murder capital of the world. That tide had saw us having a Minister of National Security who had said to all who would listen that the talk of crime and homicides in particular in the country was for him like water on the back of a duck, that it was a matter of no moment, that he will continue to do what he does best, and he will not take on the worries of crime. For me as a citizen and one who loved the country tremendously, it was a source of great pain, not only for those of us who lived in St. Kitts, but also those who live abroad, to hear our country's reputation being taken to the dogs, if you will, by the regularity with which homicides or shootings were taking place in the country. It was not the kind of St. Kitts and Nevis in which I had grown up, and I had vowed to myself and to my conscience that we had to do everything in our power to bring peace again to the country. And indeed, many initiatives were tried, and we were not afraid to try them. I had said to the High Command that performance in the end would be the only criterion by which they were going to be judged. We were not, as it were, nitpicking, though we were careful in making resources available. In other words, part of the strategy was to ensure there was no excuse. So when Commissioner Quealy speaks, for example, the absence of vehicle, we can say that on the Team Unity, the police was invested with the largest number of vehicles at any time in its history over the last 5 years. And some had come by gifts. We had maybe some 12 donated just last year by the police. We had invested ourselves, bought a new fleet of trucks and other significant means of transportation to the Defense Force and to all the security support agencies, including fire, including Her Majesty's prison. In other words, you give them no excuse for non-performance. And we try many things. It's difficult to say which in the end, except that we would accept that all of these things, the increased efforts we put in training, the efforts we put in bringing in specialists into the country to assist us in a reorganization of the police force and the security forces, all of those, I believe, helped us. The peace initiative was a brilliant strategy that had come forward and which we locked in to, and which in the end has brought tremendous dividend to our people. We still have the matter to do with the trauma. So many persons have lost their lives unnecessarily, while the government of the past did nothing. That had left, as it were, such hurt and pain in the society that we still have to ensure that we bring additional support to deal with the victims who are there. Many of the young people that got caught up in crime were part of the revenge killing that the hurt and pain left unattended had created. Even for police officers, it had become a depressing experience to engage in crime fighting. And for the first time in the history of the force, we brought in full-time a psychologist on board to assist the police and security forces in general in giving them the kind of psychological support required for them to be able to do their work. So for me, to move from what we inherited in 2015, where we were having an average 4 homicides, by February 2015, we had at least 9 homicides already. So we were trending at near 48 homicides if that had continued unabated, to where we are now that we are enjoying. And we hope that this will continue so that by the end of the year, we end up with single-digit homicides. The aim really is to get to 0, but that may be an unduly optimistic rate that we are looking at. But we want to have always crime in our country to be at a manageable level. And that is why we have took the budget for national security from where it was in 2014 at around maybe $25 million to now it is $99 million. We believe that every dollar we have invested in saving lives has been a dollar well spent, because we yet cannot put a price tag on the lives that we are saving. So I want to commend all who have been part, even the civilians. And Mr. Brandy, in his opening remarks, was minded to thank the people who are now reposing a new level of confidence in the security forces, coming forward, giving information to assist the police in resolving these crimes. And so I just want to say thank you, to say I feel a sense of satisfaction that we are moving in the right direction, but being mindful that we are not yet there. It is a destination in which we are embarked, and we continue to travel on that journey. And we want, as it was, we travel that the road be smooth and that we are getting ahead. The wind, as it were, behind our back, pushing us forward into greater progress and into the highest level of security. My wish is that the St. Kitts and Nevis, which I now have the opportunity to lead as a Prime Minister for the second time, will become the best example of a well-managed state. It must be the best place to live, the best place to raise families, the best place to work. And that is why during the campaign, I continue to go back to the words of Marcus Garvey when he visited St. Kitts way back in 1937. In that powerful speech, all of us again have to recommit to build our Garden of Eden right here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So, Mr. Brandy, would you want to explain? We invested significant sums in building a modern forensic lab, a tabernacle. We had significant support from the Treasury, but we also had significant support, I want to place on record, from the Whitegate Corporation, who had assisted us. And we were able to recruit some top specialists in the area of forensic. The last one we have is Mrs. Marshall out of Antigua, and she come where she was doing an excellent job in Antigua, but loves St. Kitts more, and we are happy to have her working in the national security field. Mr. Brandy.
Yes, Mr. Prime Minister, I'm very happy for the investment in the lab, and that helped us tremendously in terms of our detection. As I said before, in order to reduce crime, we also have to depend on detection. And for last year alone, I can say out of the 12 homicides that was recorded last year, 6 of those homicides were detected through forensic. And when I said forensic, this is where our officers go on the scene, collect the spent cartridge, the warheads from bullets, the clothing, the bloody clothing, take to the lab, and we have a double comparative microscope that I spoke of earlier, costing something in the region of 150,000 US. I think that is the only one in the Caribbean at this stage. So we have much to thank you for, and as a result of that, one of our specialists, Mr. Challenger, top in the Caribbean, number of organizations sought to seek to get Mr. Challenger to work with the organization, and we were able to match these warheads and shell casing to different firearms that we take from the street, and we're able to solve some of these homicides. In addition to that, at the lab we have an automatic fingerprint machine. This no longer we can depend on just manual, that when you go to a crime scene, you dust for fingerprint, and then you make the lifting we have to go manually and make comparison with your database. No longer we rely on that. You go to a crime scene, you leave fingerprint, you go back to the lab, and you run it through the AFIS machine, and it will tell you if there's a match. Once there's a match, then you do your chart, and you know who the person who was on the scene of the crime. So that lab really come in tremendous for us. And in terms of bloody clothes, and you want to know DNA and profiles, there are machine at the lab that you can dry. In half an hour time, you have the bloody clothes dry, you're able to process and cut out areas of blood from the clothing, package it properly, and send off to Cellmark in England, because we cannot do DNA at this time in St. Kitts Nevis. And in quick time, depends on the urgency of the case, we can get results back from England within a week, 2 weeks, depends on the workload at the lab. So, yes, the lab was very expensive, but very useful for us and very profitable for us, and we are seeing the fruits of our labor.
Thank you very much. We'll squeeze in two last calls. Hello, caller.
Hello?
Good night. Hi. Go ahead, please.
Good night. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good evening. Prime Minister, this question is for you. You said that 3,000 plus step workers would be off. Would they be permanent? What benefits would they have going forward? Would these people have documents to show? What would be the procedure for these people?
Thank you very much. And the second call, please. Good night.
Greetings. Good night, Mr. Honorable Prime Minister. Good night, guys. Hello? This camp, I just like to ask something here. I know a couple of months ago when you were talking at the press conference on the OPI, you know, I've been a question to you pertaining about the bottle uprising. I would like to know what you stand in the indication now you have returned back to administrative power again. You are serious about making sure that we see a monument being outlined for the people of the 1935 bottle uprising. Thank you.
Okay, those are our two last calls, so we'll have the Prime Minister answer the two questions. What benefits will step workers have? The lady asked. And okay, go ahead. Sure.
No, we have dropped that call. Okay. With respect to the initiative for this step, what the government is attempting to do here is to bring some level of regularization to all workers who are part of the STEP program. The STEP is an upgraded mechanism from what was PEP, which started way back in 2012. Was intended to be a short-term response to unemployment in the country. However, it became caught up in the no confidence battle before the parliament. And once it had become clear that the no confidence would result in a vote against the government, and therefore as a consequence would have required general elections to be called in the country, that program continued. However, it was not well planned or thought of. And so the program grew from what was intended to be 1,000 participants to over 4,000. And that was very significant a burden. And what we are attempting to do, and we have set up a committee involving our Chief Personnel Officer, involving the Accountant General, involving a number of other officials to put a program which will regularize all STEP workers. Regularization means that they now become part of the permanent working staff or employee class of the government. It means then that when you go to the bank with a letter saying that you are working and STEP, there is no need for the financial institution to say, well, STEP is not really a job, or STEP is for a finite time, we cannot rely upon that, you have no status. So we are now giving you status. We are now would be able to produce your job letters for you to take, for example, or to send off to the U.S. Embassy as evidence that you are at work. And we certainly are also in discussion with the National Insurance Company, which covers all government employees, to ensure that those benefits could in due time be made available to the STEP workers. So there are significant benefits. Perhaps the most important one is the security now that you have as an employee of the government, and for all the other rights and privileges of government employees to be extended to you, including pensionable consideration, the consideration for pensionable benefits. And as I said, now you can get job letters to take to lending institutions which hitherto found upon letters coming from the STEP program, and also you can use them for purposes of visa. So there are significant benefits. Of course, with every benefit comes an obligation, a responsibility, and we are going to have to insist that those who are on the STEP program are really performing, that you have to give a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. We certainly will hold the supervisors accountable. If persons do not report to work, they must not, I repeat, they must not be paid for any day for which they fail to work, and there is no justifiable reason. We will not waste the limited resources of the country. So as we step up your status, step up the support to you, we expect you to give back to this country as part of your contribution to building this Garden of Eden. With respect to the brother who raised the issue of the monument in commemoration of the historic importance of the Buckley's uprising, the Buckley's riot, yes, this is still something that we are committed to. We had established a committee of which the caller was a part to address a number of issues with respect to Buckley's, and we are now going to try within this term to fashion a response to these particular matters, as our heritage, our history, our sense of person, our sense of being demand that we take charge of all these historical assets and put them now to help us build this stronger and safer future.
Thank you very much. I now call on each of the panelists to bring closing remarks briefly. I'll ask the National Security Advisor to tell us what he thinks we can look forward to as we continue to build out a stronger, safer future. What's in the works, National Security Advisor?
Well, the national security architecture continues to be rolled out. We are at a very crucial stage now where the development of a national security strategy is concerned. And the draft of that goes back to Cabinet in perhaps another 2 or 3 weeks, after which the Cabinet will make a decision in moving it forward. Following that, we can look forward to the reviews of ministries, departments, and agencies based upon the directions given by Cabinet. So at the end of the day, what we have is a far more holistic approach to dealing with the national security threats, those I mentioned at the beginning of this particular program. So in a nutshell, we still have some way to go, but at least we are far advanced in achieving that national security architecture and having it in place and functioning.
Commissioner, what can the public look forward to from the police force?
Ms. Grant, I want to say to the general public, the police are there to protect and serve, and we are looking forward for your continuous support. We appreciate of the support that you're giving to us over the past 2 years, and I think with your support, we were able to make St. Kitts and Nevis a safer and one of the best places to live and to do business. I want to take this opportunity to thank my men and women of the Royal St. Christopher Nevis Police Force for their hard work, and I said hard work, I mean real hard work. Since November, we have been going for the pre-carnival activities into Christmas and Carnival, then in the New Year into the pandemic, then into the general election, and the pandemic is not over as yet, and now we have the hurricane season, which we have to plan and prepare for. So I'm asking you to hold strain and let us keep the people of St. Kitts and Nevis safe. To the general public, thank you for your support, and as the saying goes, if you see something, say something. Do not let crime be a part of our daily life. I thank you.
Thank you very much, and I call on Prime Minister Harris to talk about what we can look forward to as he and his administration continue to build out a stronger, safer future for St. Kitts and Nevis.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Press Secretary. We can look forward to a stronger and safer future for St. Kitts and Nevis. We certainly are committed to that. And during the course of the 17 or 18-day campaign, we outlined our vision for St. Kitts and Nevis progressing. One of our strategic action would be to harness the resources of St. Kitts and Nevis so that more of our people can benefit and can advance themselves. We are particularly mindful that we have a large group of young people. Indeed, about 65% of the population is under 35. And we want to harness the talents of our young people towards the onerous task of building a successful nation. In that regard, we have introduced, and it is now going to be built out over the next couple of months, a Ministry of Entertainment, Talent Development and Entrepreneurship, because we believe that it is across those three interrelated areas that our young people must find their niche. We marvel that we launched a virtual campaign, as it were, out of the blue. And it was the young, talented folks across some 4 entities, led by Open Interactive, Stacia Williams, and his own group of young people, funds and others, who came together and put what has been the most successful virtual campaign anywhere around the world together, and delivered and played a part in a landslide victory for the Team Unity administration. As a debt of gratitude, we engage in discussion with those dynamic people. And the idea that we need better coordination, better assistance to the young, talented artists who were on display during those 17-day period of the campaign. We want them to have more support. And the new ministry, which we are building out, will cater for that. The issues of studios and other supports, all those are going to be harnessed. The issue of guidance and mentorship for people who want to get involved in business. A lot of time we have young people come, I want to do this, I want to do that. And it's almost the same thing that Peter is doing, that Mary is doing, that Jane is doing. And the ideas are not sufficiently new and varied to allow for successful engagement in that. And so part of the role of this ministry will be to help people with ideas find a genuine niche in the marketplace. And this is what is being required in St. Kitts and Nevis. So everyone doesn't need to get involved in a supermarket to do rice and chicken and so on. You have to have something now unique what it is going to be different about my operation that will allow me to make a living from it and to sustain it. Because these are critical issues, and these are some of the issues when people submit proposal for financing, they are not able to succeed because the market is too filled, already saturated with similar entities, and therefore the viability of the business cannot be, as it were, be proven for those who have to put up other people's money. So that is going to be a very supportive ministry that is going to be there for our young people. I think that the country as a whole could look forward to a more dynamic agricultural sector. We have started doing that. We have made available significant quantity. I think we have identified 135 acres of land, which is a large quantity of land in the context of additional resources being put in the agricultural sector, particularly if we marry the land with the technology, the shade houses, the greenhouses, hydroponics, and all those other things, then we can get agriculture to a stage where food security is real. We can get more fresh fish, more preserved fish, more fruits, more vegetables, etc., so that we are not vulnerable to any development happening abroad containing our ability to exist and to eat. We have to develop our poultry. We have done very well in terms of egg production, but in terms of a quality meat product, chicken, and all those other areas, we have difficulties. And in the next term, we want to devote attention in these particular areas. I've said to the Agriculture Department, and the new Minister of Agriculture will perhaps help in this, that what we want is to allow the farmers and fishers to do what they do best, farming. Somebody else must take charge of the marketing efforts, because it grieves my heart to hear the farmers say, well, we have all these potatoes, we have all these onions, but we can't get them sold. So issues of storage and preservation of these products over a prolonged period, from plenty to its diminution, which allow for the sale, those are going to become critical. We have to have a fresh engagement with every entity within the hospitality and the tourism sector. The restaurants, the hotels, they must support local product and local produce. And we have to drive that in. We have to tie government incentives going forward to support to the local economy, including crafts and so on, and local music, because we have such talented people here. We have to ensure that from their talents, they certainly can exist. In terms of tourism, we know that once the world again opens up, we are going to have a much more health-conscious tourist visiting. We have to begin early the retraining of our taxi operators and those who are going to be carrying people in the context of new norms of social distancing. So instead of carrying 4 in your vehicle, you have to carry 2. What are the kind of conversations you expect that a visitor will engage a taxi operator? These are the kinds of preparation that the leadership of the tourism plan have to now be seriously engaged in, so that our reorienting of our people will ensure that those who come have the best experiences here. We have to ensure that all of our restaurants, all of our service providers are very conscious of the new realities and the new norms of the traveler, and of course, even for us who are being here. Because unless we are committed to do it for ourselves, we are not going to be able to do it in a sustained way for the stranger. You can't just decorate your house for the visitor. You have to decorate the house for yourself. And that is how we have to look at these things as we move forward. So we are looking at a new, vibrant kind of tourism with new product offerings. We are looking at, again, how we can bring back more of our heritage tourism into play as we add to safe areas in which visitors can be engaged, because safety is going to become much more prominent in the new engagements necessary for tourism. We have to look again at skill sets. Even in our hotels, those that are serious about the service, they're going to have on board full-time nurses and doctors and call. They're going to have to reserve particular areas in the odd event somebody falls sick. How are you going to provide quarantine and other support? So it's a whole lot of issues now that confront us, and we want to be out front with respect to training and awareness, just as we had a head start as a result of the fantastic work of Dr. Laws and Dr. Wilkerson in preparing and training people, in going out to the workplaces and sensitizing persons with regard to COVID-19, so that when it came, our people were able to adjust. Not all at once, because it is a new learning and mistakes will be made and have been made, but the country as a whole has done a very fantastic job. Hence we are at the best place to be. No deaths, no admissions, and all who had tested positive have been recovered nicely. Going forward, we are going to invest in a quarantine facility. Because clearly, even with the discussions we have had tonight, we now know that that is a significant lack for any country, because we cannot rely over any long period of time on the honor system, which is what the home quarantine turned out to be. You were relying on people to be sensitive to the fact that there was a significant threat and that they would behave themselves well. They will stay at home. They will not invite over friends, and so on and so on. And we saw in several instances that did not work. And therefore, the experience has taught us that you have to have a place where you can put them compulsorily, and that place has to be managed by state official. It has to have the relevant amount of security people to keep peace and to ensure that those who should be in are in fact in, and no visitors are allowed. And the country found itself without that. We therefore had to engage in significant expenditure using hotel facilities in order to hold persons, which was a requirement, in quarantine and in isolation for extended period of time, 14-day window. We have said, as part of our discussion going forward, that we will build a brand new hospital, and that the existing facility at JNF will be used over time to build out one of the most modern laboratory system, providing a full range of support to the hospital and site there. But ideas also come that a portion of that facility can now become the quarantine and isolation facility for pandemics. Today it is COVID-19, tomorrow it may be another. And that is why the National Security Advisor identified pandemics as a threat. Before COVID-19, we had others. We had what were they called? With dengue, malaria, and all of those, chikungunya and all of that. Luckily, none of them, I think, impacted us with the same kind of fear and other ill effects as the COVID-19 posed for our own way of life. And so we have to prepare for that. And I think that one missing link in our response was the absence of quarantine. Going forward, we are going to correct that. And so our health system coming out of COVID-19, thankfully, is at the best it has been. And that has been remarkable. We now have more ventilators. We now have all the other important assets that our health facilities should have, both at all our hospitals and at specialized centers. We have an adequate supply now of ambulances. We brought in 2, maybe 3 weeks ago or thereabout. So our country is at its best asset response level with respect to the health situation in the country. We have to improve, of course, on the human resource capabilities. We have to improve, of course, on the quality of service. But all of these things have been moving in the right direction. And with the kind of energy and leadership we have had from Dr. Wilkerson and Dr. Laws, we know that that is going to be contagious in terms of the beneficial effects in the health sector. So I have a very optimistic view of the safer and stronger future. Tonight we focus largely on the safety and public security aspect of that. And some persons have asked, where are some of the other leaders of the health sector? For example, the Colonel Comrie of the Defense Force. We could also add Mrs. Hughes from the Immigration Department. We could add Terence James from Her Majesty's Prison Service. Clearly all could not be here given all the requirements of social distancing. And I gather that it's not good security to have all the security people exposed at one spot, especially also when the leader of the country is also at that spot. But I can promise you that in follow-up editions, we will certainly hear from the Defense Force leadership. We will hear from Mrs. Hughes, who leads our effort at immigration, and we will hear what is happening in terms of reform, rehabilitation work of the prison, and how all those efforts will contribute to the stronger and safer future. Again, I want to end by commending you, the press secretary, for a very good job tonight, and to thank the other 2 panelists for availing themselves to be here to contribute to the public discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. On behalf of all of you, our large and dedicated audience, I say a very special thanks to the Prime Minister and the other esteemed members of the panel. On behalf of all of us, we thank everyone watching and listening for making Leadership Matters so wildly popular in such a short time. We thank our media partners, ZIZ TV in particular, and ZIZ Radio, Freedom FM, Sugar City FM, Bond Radio, and Win FM for simulcasting the program, and also the St. Kitts and Nevis Information Service, SKNIS, and other social media platforms for streaming Leadership Matters live. Leadership Matters can also be accessed on ZIZ's Facebook and YouTube pages. Thank you again for spending your Tuesday night with us. Good night.